So if you find that there's an episode you missed about a topic that affects you, or maybe a tax credit you could get, I want you to pay attention, use those show notes, and take a listen. And if you have any friends or family members who could benefit from a certain tax credit or student loan forgiveness, please share the episode. I would be eternally grateful.
Welcome to the Sunlight Podcast. In this show, we're talking about taxes, money, and careers for self-employed people who have a big vision for changing the world with their work. I'm your host, Hannah Cole, artist, tax pro, and the founder of Sunlight Tax. If you're a creative or soul-centered entrepreneur or wellness practitioner who wants to grow your business sustainably, manage your taxes, and build a stash of fuck you money so you can control your time and have a bigger impact with your work, you are in the right place.
Hello, everyone. Happy almost end of December. I know this is a time that a lot of year-end reviews come out, and I felt inspired by that. I thought, you know what? There have been a lot of new pieces of legislation that have come out this year, and I covered a lot of them for you, so that you would not miss any tax laws that apply to you, any new tax credits, any new regulations that apply to solopreneurs, freelancers. And so I wanted to do a little year-end review of past Sunlight podcasts from the year that will really help you and who they apply to. Okay, so this is a little bit of a list. And in the show notes, we're going to drop in all the links to these episodes. So if you find that there's an episode you missed about a topic that affects you, or maybe a tax credit you could get, I want you to pay attention, use those show notes, and take a listen. And if you have any friends or family members who could benefit from a certain tax credit or student loan forgiveness, please share the episode. I would be eternally grateful. It is very, very hard to grow a podcast, and I am so grateful when you share the episodes because it shows people, oh my gosh, this podcast exists. Did you know that? Many people don't know. So here's my roundup. First, just very, very recently, I did a podcast episode about the Corporate Transparency Act. So this is a new piece of legislation that affects all LLCs and people who form a new LLC. So whether you've had your LLC for years and years and years, or if you are thinking about forming one and may be about to form an LLC, you are now going to be required, starting January 1st, 2024, you will be now required to do a small filing with FinCEN, which is a part of the US Treasury. This law, the CTA, the Corporate Transparency Act, is all about preventing financial crimes, money laundering, human trafficking, all kinds of gross, gnarly stuff that we do want to stop. But because the shell companies that operate businesses like this are often run through US-based LLCs, you, my friends, are now going to be required to show who the beneficial owner of that LLC is through a piece of paperwork. So take a listen to that episode, the Corporate Transparency Act, New Rules for LLCs, to get the details on that. And please share it with anyone you know who's even considering forming an LLC, because the timeline for new LLCs is only 30 days, whereas for existing LLCs, you have a whole year. So it's the newbie who really needs to get right on top of this. In my episode, FU Money for the People, I reviewed basically the increases in the contribution allowances for the various tax advantaged accounts that you have access to. So primarily what I'm talking about here are your 401k, your 403b, your IRA, traditional and Roth IRA, okay? The contribution limits to these accounts have gone up. They have increased for tax year 2023. So if it's a 401k or 403b, you have a couple more days before the end of 2023 to increase your contribution amount into those accounts to maximize the new contribution limits. If you have an IRA, you have until April 15th So a little bit longer for IRAs than for 401ks, 403bs, but take a listen and adjust your budget. This is a case where just a couple of minutes, maybe 30 minutes sitting down and filling out a little bit of paperwork is going to save you a lot of money, and that compound interest when that money is invested in investment accounts will have a compounding effect that will save you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars over the course of your lifetime. So that episode is FU money for the people. Speaking of FU money, I have another episode about how to stash more FU money. The Secure 2.0 Act expands your retirement funding options. This episode is about the piece of legislation called the Secure 2.0 Act. Basically, the Biden administration studied what is holding back US taxpayers from putting enough money into tax advantage retirement accounts. And they found that there are a lot of worries about people not wanting to put money into those accounts because they were fearful about maybe needing the money in various emergency situations. So the cool thing is that they passed this law to basically give you the ability to access that money under a new and expanded range of emergency situations. So hopefully this lowers the barrier to you putting money into those accounts. So if you've been feeling held back about contributing or really going hard with your retirement accounts, this episode is for you. It will show you that, in fact, there are some really clear and expanded reasons you can now access that money in an emergency situation if you need to, so you can put your money into those accounts with a lot less fear. All right. Next, donating your work is not a charitable deduction. This episode is a sad but true kind of a womp womp. But for those of you who are being asked to donate work for charity fundraisers, maybe those of you who work at nonprofits who send those nasty little letters that I want to stop that say, here's the sales value or the retail value of the artwork that was donated, implying that that person who donated the work they made themselves gets that as a tax deduction, which is not true. This episode is for you. I want you to know the rules, understand that when you are a professional artist or creator or maker and you donate work that you made for charitable purposes, you do not get a tax deduction. It sucks, but it's true. I'm here to tell you the truth. And this is an episode to share with any nonprofits who are still sending those letters out or who are, I really hope this isn't happening, but who are soliciting donations of work from artists and creative people with the hope or the promise of a tax deduction, because that tax deduction is not coming. All right, so know the rules about donating your work. I also give some really helpful and positive tips about how to stay generous, how to protect yourself, and how to still, be charitable and feel generous without feeling exploited. So it's a really great episode, and I recommend you share it with anyone who donates work or who solicits donated work because they probably need to hear it. More tax credits. So taxes, democracy, and the largest climate bill in US history. This episode is about the new energy tax credits. So whether you are making energy efficient updates to your home, if you're a homeowner, or if you buy a new or used clean vehicle, there are new tax credits available to you. This tax law called the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA, was passed. It's the largest climate bill in US history. It is expected to reduce climate emissions in the United States by 40% within 7 years. It is truly impressive, and you might get some money from it. So take a listen to Taxes, Democracy, and the Largest Climate Bill in US History for information on energy tax credits and clean vehicle credits. Or if you just want to hear about, honestly, a really big legislative victory for climate change. Student loan forgiveness. You may have felt some confusion through the year because originally the Biden administration passed an original student loan forgiveness plan that was struck down by the Supreme Court. But I don't want you to lose hope because they stuck with it and they passed a second one that is based on more solid footing legally. It's based on something that Congress actually already approved in, I believe, 1993. So it's much more stable and much less likely to be struck down by the Supreme Court since it has congressional approval already. So new student loan forgiveness rules actually do have a way to get full forgiveness, and you can opt into a new, much more favorable terms for income-driven repayment plans. So learn all about the rules there in that episode called The New Student Loan Forgiveness. And if you have anyone in your life with student loans, please share that episode. And then last but not least, I want to share with you the medical expense episode. So medical expense deductions, when it's worth tracking and how. In this episode, I go through when it's actually worth your time to track medical expenses at all. Only 10% of US taxpayers itemize. Medical expenses are an itemized deduction. And remember, if you're a longtime Sunlight podcast listener, you already know that itemized deductions have nothing to do with your business deductions. But that's a good episode for you too. If you're unclear on that, I have an episode clarifying the difference between itemized and business deductions, which are two completely different things. But in this medical expense episodes, I go through if you are a person who had a terrible diagnosis, a very, very disruptive health event, and you have outsized medical expenses for the year, this episode is for you. Or if there is someone in your life who has had an experience like this, give them a little gift and send them this episode. It goes through at what point in those expenses you are allowed to deduct them on your taxes and at what point it's worth it for you. So I give you the math so that you understand when it's actually worth tracking those things, keeping those receipts, and actually reporting it on your tax return. That is my year-end roundup for you. I hope you use the show notes, click down to the show notes, click any of those episodes that sound appealing to you. Hopefully you get more money in your retirement accounts, you get some student loan forgiveness or a better repayment plan, and you get a little knowledge about some of the new legislation that was passed this year and how it can benefit you. All right. I'm so happy and honored to have spent this year with you. Hopefully you have learned some things about your taxes, your tax credits, new legislation, maybe some things you didn't realize you might be excited about. And I just hope I've made the year a little bit easier for you or gotten a little bit more money in your pocket for listening. If you feel that way, do me the ultimate honor and share a podcast with a friend. All right. Thank you so, so much for listening, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful new year. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review. It really helps, and share it with a friend. I'm so grateful. This podcast is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links we reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.